Hi there, this is Alvin from Dr. Wealth, and we have Astrea 9P bonds launching for your subscription. And I believe that, like the rest of the previous Astrea P bonds, it should be a very popular issue. And let's look at the details and my thoughts about it. So, the very first thing is there will be two classes of bonds, as with previous PE bonds as well. There's a Sing dollar version and then there's a USD dollar version. So, the Sing dollar is the Class A1 bonds, and the interest coupon rate is at 3.4% per annum. And for the USD, is a A2 class, and that's at 5.7% per annum. So you might be asking, why is the US dollar bond higher interest? Why should you even consider the Sing dollar bond at a lower interest? The reason is because the jurisdiction is different, right? So US, the interest rate and Singapore interest rate are different, and therefore there should be a difference in the interest rate, even when they issue these bonds. Okay. And for the risk, because if you buy the US dollar bond, there is a US dollar currency risk, right? And we know that for the past this 6 months or so, right, this year alone, we have seen some heavy depreciation of the US dollar against Sing dollar. So this kind of forex movement can happen, and that means that some of the losses in forex can in fact defray your gains in this higher interest rate. Okay, so it is not without risk. It is not like a no-brainer and say, oh, it's a higher number, I should go for the US dollar. Okay, so it really depends on the underlying forex movements, right? So if you're an expert of forex, maybe you think that now is a good value for US dollar, then of course you can definitely consider the A2 bonds. But I just wanted to remind you, right, there is a currency risk that's there. And let's look at more details. So the interests are paid out once every 6 months, so twice a year, and both bonds will pay out in cash, not like the placement bonds, right? The Class B ones, those are cumulative ones. So the public tranche, they will pay out this cash flow, and there is a call date. Okay, the call date is in 2030, 5 years from the issue date, and if they don't redeem the bonds by then, the interest rate will increase by 1%. Okay, and the bond will finally mature at 2040. Yeah, so that is the important time frame that you need to know. And for the Astrea 9P bonds, it will be traded on SGX, and that means you can sell these bonds as per how you buy and sell stocks on SGX before this call date of maturity. Okay, so you can lock in some capital gains if there is, if you prefer to sell it before the maturity. So these are some of the key features that you need to know about the bonds. And the next question is 3.4% and 5.7% a good interest rate? Okay, so this interest rate are determined by the private placement, right? Based on the book order, they average it out. So that is the interest rate for pricing these two bonds. Okay, so what can we do? We can compare, of course, to other investment grade ones, because you can see this for these both Class A1 and Class A2, their rating or the expected rating from Fitch is A, which is investment grade, right? So let's compare to other investment grade bonds issued by the corporates. We should not compare to the government, because the government is much higher in terms of the credit rating. Like Singapore government is AAA rated, so you expect the interest rate to be even lower due to the higher quality, higher credit quality. Okay, so there is a parallel, right? Even though it's not exactly the same, but we can use it as a reference. There is a Nikko AM Sing Dollar investment grade corporate bond ETF, and is yielding around 3.18%, okay, based on the historical distribution and the most recent closing price. So at 3.4% was what was offered by the Class A1 bonds. So it is slightly higher, right? So I would say that it is fair. It's a rather fair interest rate to be paid out. And then for the USD investment grade, the reference I chose was this iShares iBox investment grade corporate bond ETF that's listed in the US, and we are looking at a 4.37%. And same thing at 5.7% for the P bonds, the Class A2. It's also same. In fact, the gap is wider, right? The difference is larger, about 1%. Actually, it's more than 1%. Okay, so I think the USD one does offer a higher discount compared to the Sing dollar version. Astrea has always traded above par, right? If you look at the past Astrea bonds that are still listed on SGX, you can see they trade above $1. Okay, so that means that there's very high chance that because it seems like the bonds are issued at a slight discount to the prevailing market rate, so that means that once they are listed, they will correct to the market rate. So I do expect Astrea 9 to also trade above par value. Okay, so some people may just want to take the, the profit early by selling the bonds. That's also possible. Okay, and of course, let's talk about the risks. Right, there were some risks mentioned in the prospectus which you should be aware of. But I just wanted to give you my point of view. Right, something that wasn't mentioned. And the risk that I see is in the PE world or the private equity world, there is this increasing talk of offering private equity to retail investors. Okay, I'm not a fan of this, right? I'm not a fan of this because usually PE funds are for accredited investors, right? For a good reason, because they are not as transparent as public listed companies. The disclosure are more opaque, and they are illiquid, which means it's not easy for you to sell when you want to sell it. And usually a sign where they need to go to retail investor, right, is usually kind of late in the game already. PE has done very well for many years, right? So I don't know, right? It just feel like going to PE is offloading, okay, of all these investments to the public. That's why I'm not a fan of it. Okay, I see a lot of all this increasing talk of offering private equity opportunities for retail investor. I think it's a wrong cycle, right? But that said, Astrea bond is a different story. It is a bond. You're not owning the equity directly or the private equity directly. You are a bond holder, and the bond is issued by the Azilia, okay, Azilia subsidiary, right? So it's a different ball game, okay. And yes, the cash flow is being secured by this private equity fund, but as long as it's not dependent on the capital gains, even if the PE funds drop in NAV value, it's not a big concern as long as the cash flow flows, right? So I think that is the saving grace, okay, for this Astrea, even if the PE industry goes south, right? The other thing that can impact the PE cash flow will be the economy, right? So if there is really a recession, then this cash flow may be impacted, right? So other than that, I don't think that is an issue, right? So my only bugbear is private equity for retail. Okay, private equity bonds for retail is fine in my view. And I do think that it will continue to be popular. There will be oversubscription. The placement tranche, which is the for the accredited investor, is already oversubscribed, right? At 3.6 times, close to $2 billion order book. So that means that the retail tranche should also be very popular, considering that there's cash flow payout, right? And Astrea bonds have always been very popular. Okay, so I think there will be oversubscription. So even if you want to subscribe, you may not get everything that you want. Okay, so I think up to 50,000, you got a higher chance, right? You will get less than $50,000. You get a higher chance of getting what you want. But anything more than 50,000, it will be difficult. Okay, I believe that you might just get partial and not the full amount that you want to. So expect that to happen, right? And be realistic about the allocation that you're going to get at the end of the day. So the application period is open since 31st July 9 a.m. and you will close on 6 August at 12 noon, right? So it's pretty fast, about a week for you to decide. And I think that should be quite a no-brainer for those who are interested already. Okay, so hopefully this is a quick roundup for you to understand what this Astrea 9P bonds is all about. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe to the channel as well. Goodbye.